Do you think that part of growing up and being tough for lots of guys is about hanging around in groups and becoming one of the guys?
If you're trying to make an impression or make somebody think different of you, put up a mask. But if you just want someone to know you for who you are, you don't. So, if someone's hassling you, you're sort of going to put up a barrier to make it look like you're fairly tough so they won't hassle you.
Hitting my teens was a difficult time. I found it hard to stay in line. My teacher would throw me out of class. I'd just pull a face from behind the glass. I'd learned the lesson and learnt it well, that I can't be hurt inside my shell. In our gang, we felt real strong. Amongst ourselves, we could do no wrong. And girls, man, well, they were just toys put on the planet just to please us boys. It felt much better playing boys' games than take the risk and being called names. But the put-downs had a major cost, and I didn't realize what I had lost was the natural pride in what I do, cause judging others, I judge me too.
At 15 I felt a longing for closeness, for intimacy, but I couldn't express that because it wasn't seen to be normal to be vulnerable, and that's what you are when you're expressing a need like that. So at that age it is a lot easier to be a guy, to change that into aggression or assertiveness.
We couldn't bear to get really close. It was too hard. And that we operated under a lot of terror. Terror of being humiliated by our friends. All we presented to each other was our stories, our bravado, our image. We could create it what you wanted it to be, but everyone was doing the same.
Because there's so much pressure placed on someone to be either a, football hero or a really wealthy businessman, it's portrayed back through the media. You've got to be an achiever. You've got to make it, and there's so much pressure on that of course you're going to lie about it if you're not as good as you think everyone thinks you should be. You're going to make up stories about yourself, and eventually get to a stage where it's so competitive around guys that you just can't say anything honest.
Basically, what it comes down to is, it's like the I caught a fish this big story, but with your masculinity. It's I've got a masculinity this big, you haven't seen anything, mate, this big, and it sort of, gets to the, sort of starting to see that door over there? From there to here, mate.
But being a guy, you're not allowed to enjoy, you're not allowed to, in a sense, discover your sexuality. It's like very much it's not a discovery, it's a conquer. You've got to
go! And they're off, and they're in, and they're working for the hymen, and James in front. No, Justin slipped out, and he's coming on the outside, which doesn't count. But effectively...
in a sense, it doesn't have to be rape and pillage. There's no rush. That's what I think would have helped most of all, that there is no rush.
Slam, dunk, and no dribbling. Justin wins it by the nose and cuts it off with a perfect dismount. What a performance, that's going to be a 10.
There was no older male in my life who was saying, well, maybe you're going through this now, or feeding back anything. There was never a sort of inequality or safety to ask questions and have them answered honestly, or get feedback about how you're going. You're supposed to be a professional at it without having served any apprenticeship.
When we hang out in groups, it's much easier to hide behind our masks, so we pretend not to care and hide our true and real feelings. Dropping that mask, even briefly, can take real guts.
Close friends that I have, you don't have to worry about, because they know you when you let your mask down, so you can put the mask up or down, it doesn't matter. because they already know you. It just doesn't matter.
If we started talking about this, like what we're talking about now over there, everyone would probably just go, thanks, and like everyone would just give you heaps of slack. And
yeah, it's one of the reasons why people put on masks. It's just because they're afraid of letting their true selves show, and just afraid that people think that their true selves are just fools or idiots, just afraid to be made fools of.
When I actually found a girl who I really did think was nice, I hadn't been trying to impress, and she liked me for who I was. And I sort of realised that I started to like myself and thought, yeah, you know, I'm happy with who I am, and I don't need to impress. People will like me for who I am, and if they don't, then, you know, that's not my loss.
Like, probably after this, like tomorrow at lunchtime, I wouldn't expect like for the three of these guys to come up and like start having another conversation like this. Yeah. Like all four of us would probably like never talk about it again. Probably just do it, and then like it's in the past, don't worry about it. But like if you have a conversation like this with your friends, it keeps coming up. But none of us really know each other that well.
Yeah.
It's just like we'd just be hoping for it. Everyone doesn't mix together, but that's why I reckon it should be. I reckon just stuff the groups. You just be yourself, then everyone just mix together. Be a lot less war in the world, I tell you.
If we drop the mask, we allow ourselves to be honest with ourselves and each other. Do you think that people would prefer to be liked for who they really are?
When they judge other people, they're like judging what they don't like about themselves.
I get along with most people. There's very few people that I actually don't like. All the so-called rejects at school, I can find their nice side, and I talk to them and I find out what they're interested in and what they like, and I can like be friends with them for that time until they start they break out of their nice side.
Beneath every person's attitude and mask is a caring, loving person. All you need to do is like open the door to it.
It's harder to find that door, especially with people with a chip on their shoulder.
A lot of the time, to get to people's feelings, all they need is someone to listen to them. Someone to know that, like, for them to know that that person is actually listening to you and not, you know, looking off at the stars or, you know, just daydreaming while you're telling you all the deepest feelings, you know.
If more people listened, people wouldn't have to act, put up masks. It'd come naturally.
And the other day, you know, I was quite worked up and stuff like that, and Taekwon just came up and said, look, man, you know, if you want to talk or anything, you know, just come over and you know I'm here, stuff like that. I've never heard that from a guy before. And so that's one thing that I'm now allowing myself to do, is to have that contact with guys and not think within myself, oh no, are these guys going to think I'm a fag?
It comes down to a sort of, I guess, for me, a basic respect level for somebody that, you know, I don't need to impress them, because it's not doing them any favours impressing them. I'd be better off to know how they're feeling, because that, if I can understand someone in that way, then I can offer them a lot more than I could by being Mr. Super, you know, the superhero for anyone.